Okay, I'm gonna go over the shoulder today real quick. I've got George here as my model. Guys, before we go over the shoulder, first of all, it'd be really nice if you had 45 minutes to do a good eval, but with athletic training, like the knee, like the ankle and everything, we are going to do this within like 5 minutes because we're gonna act like we're on field. Also, remember with the shoulder, actually one of my favorite joints, there's like 50 to 60 different special tests. I'm just gonna show you today the practical ones that you're gonna do, okay? So the first thing that you wanna do when assessing the shoulder is look at it everything bilaterally and look everything symmetrically as well, all right? So make sure he's not riding high like on one side or the other. Obviously, rule out a fracture first, and when we're gonna do that, usually fractures with the shoulder happen right here with the clavicle, okay? So you want to look at the SC joint first. If you palpate on yourself, it's these two little knots, and then I take my fingers and I'll run it along the length of the clavicle, and this will make the AC joint up top. As long as you don't feel any displacement or a divot, then we're good to go and we can continue the eval. With this, you want to obviously, with the knee and the ankle, you want to make sure you take a good history. You want to make sure all nerves are within normal limits. Things like that. We'll get into manual muscle testing later and shoulder injuries on my next lecture, right? So the first special test I'm going to show you guys today is with the supraspinatus. It's one of the most important rotator cuff muscles, and it's almost like the glute medius of the hip. It's basically going to tell you whether or not everything else is good to go with the upper extremity. So it usually sits right here, and how we're going to do this is bilaterally, because we're going to test everything bilaterally. You can move quick back here just to have a wide open area. We're going to come up in a full can position just like this. It's like almost like you're holding a can of Coke, and then we're going to spill it. So that's empty can position. Go back, this is full can, and now we're going to go into empty can. So we're going to go into empty can position, and notice that he is at 60 degrees. We are not 90, and we are not 90. Some people call that 180. We all call it 90 at the clinic. So on this test, we're going to be right here at 60 degrees. Guys, this literally is a manual muscle test. All you're going to do is you're going to hold it right here, and you're going to push down and have him resist up. If there's any weakness, let's say this was the injured shoulder, I test and this one drops, that is a positive test. That means that supraspinatus is weak. So that is positive, okay? The next one I'm going to show you, this is a shoulder apprehension test. If you ever have an athlete that is complaining of a dislocated shoulder, they have a history of a dislocated shoulder, where the shoulder actually is the GH joint, the humeral head actually pops out and goes back in, that is called subluxation. We do not see that. That is why we have to take a good history. So, depending on what sport they play, we could do this test. They would come up to me and say, hey, Brett, my shoulder just feels really unstable. I've got a history of dislocations or subluxation, so you would do this test. What you're going to do, let's say this is the injured side, so we're going to start on the uninjured side first. It's called the apprehension test. This is apprehension. So basically, your patient is going to be apprehensive. You're going to go back, and for him, it's just going to feel like a good stretch. That's what it should be for a negative test until he says stop, until it gets painful, and we'll stop, and we're going to test bilaterally. Perfect. On a positive test, I would sit here and go just like this, and he would be like, Brett, stop, because I feel like my shoulder's getting ready to dislocate. Some people are jackasses. They go ahead and do it all the way until they see that humeral head pop out. Do not do that. That is bad. Okay? Do not do that. The next one that we're going to do is for a labrum tear. I'll get into this, exactly what the labrum is when we go over shoulder injuries, but it's a nice little donut and almost the consistency of a meniscus in the knee that sits right here in your shoulder that keeps your shoulder from dislocating. So this is called, there's a couple different labrum tears, but this is just the best one that we do at the clinic. So we are going to be in a 90-degree position just like this, and we're going empty can. Obviously, we were in this position for supraspinatus, but we were at 60 degrees. This labrum test right here is at 90 degrees. Usually, if he was positive already, that labrum would already be caught in the joint if it was actually torn, and he would already feel pain or it'd be stuck where he couldn't bring it down. So if you get them to this point and he's doing fine, then we can actually go on with the test. We're going to push down, and if for a positive test, he's going to feel intense or sharp pain or his shoulder feeling stuck. But right now, he has a good labrum, so it's a negative test, okay? For AC joint, if you guys are following me on your PowerPoint, for AC joint sprain, go ahead and relax. If anybody's ever had a shoulder separated injury, that's what we're talking about up here. This is where the AC joint is. A lot of times we fall just like this, and these little ligaments, because I say ligaments, do not look at this as laxity because they're too small to test laxity, so we have to test pain. These will separate, so you'll hear that layman's term of separated shoulder. So the way I would do it, same thing, 90 degrees. This time we are in a full can position, just like this. Again, we're going to push down. He is going to have sharp or intense pain on whichever affected shoulder it is on the AC joint, right on top, localized. So that's how you do it. Just remember, guys, you got to remember, this is labrum 90 degrees, empty can position, AC joint, full can position. Pain is positive for both, okay? Last one I'm going to show you today, a lot of times you get people that do a lot of overhead exercises that have biceps tendonitis. Either they're lifting wrong, they're lifting too much chest, or they're doing a motion, let's say it's a volleyball player where they're just coming down like this about 1,000 times a day during practice. Your biceps tendon, whether it's long or short head, where it attaches, it will get inflamed and cause a very sharp stabbing, I guess, sensation to where you almost cannot lift your hand up, and a lot of people think, oh my gosh, I either got a torn rotator cuff or something else. Usually it's just biceps tendonitis. So what I'm going to show you today, it's called Speed's test. You're going to stand in an anatomical position just like this. And we'll say this is the affected shoulder, so I'll get on this side. And what you're going to do is just try to come up against my resistance as fast as you can. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Perfect. One more time. Go. Good. If it was positive, he would have pain. Let's go on to the affected shoulder. 3, 2, 1, go. Perfect. And one more time. Go. Again, positive, he's going to have weakness and he's going to be grimacing in pain. Okay? So that one's called Speed's test, looking for biceps tendonitis. Other than that, guys, that's all I've got today. I will go more over shoulder stuff on my next lecture. If you guys have any questions, email me.